And then I will welcome everybody. Again, I'm Troy Moon. I'm the Sustainability Director for the City of Portland, and I'm really glad to have people attend our session today to learn more information about the city's energy benchmarking and disclosure ordinance. So we'll have a chance. Casey, who works in our office, is going to run us through a program and teach us how to do our benchmarking reports. And the benchmarking ordinance is a good first step in some of our climate goals for reducing greenhouse gas emissions overall. The first step is to understand, how we're all using energy, how much we're using on an annual basis, and that will give us some insight and maybe some opportunities that we'll be able to share about how to reduce energy consumption in buildings and how to save people money at the same time, which is always a great thing. So again, glad to have you here, and I'm going to let Casey introduce herself, and then we can jump into the workshop.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Casey. I am the Sustainability Fellow with the Sustainability Office, and I'm technically funded through the Greater Portland Council of Governments Resilience Corps. And I've been doing a lot of work with Troy and his office on this benchmarking reporting this year. So I'm really excited to be here with you and to walk you through everything. I think I'm going to share screen now, and what I'm going to walk you through originally is going to be how to find all the benchmarking information, and then we'll go through a tip sheet that's on the Sustainability Office webpage and how to use the Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which is where you will share all of your data. So here is just the Sustainability Office webpage I have up. And the way to find the benchmarking info is to go into the Climate Action tab from our Sustainability Office webpage, and then go into Energy Benchmarking. And this has all the info you could need and all the info we're going to go over today. And this is also probably where this video will be linked if you need to watch it again and walk through this. If you keep scrolling through, it gives you info on the benchmarking ordinance itself. This year, we're only requiring non-residential single buildings over 20,000 square feet to report, in addition to the municipal buildings that we'll be reporting. And as many of you probably know, the reporting deadline is May 1st, 2021 this year. I'm going to scroll to the bottom here, where a lot of the important documents. So at the bottom of this benchmarking webpage is where you'll find a lot of the important documents that we're going to go over today. We're going to use this benchmarking tip sheet, which is right here. And if you click it, it opens up. And I'm actually just going to use one that I already have open so I can easily pull it down. But this is the benchmarking tip sheet that's on the website. And it basically goes through systematic questions and answers to those questions so that you can very easily be walked through the benchmarking process and the reporting process like we're going to do today. So the first question here is, who currently needs to comply with the ordinance? This is very 2021 specific. Like I said, it's municipal buildings and non-residential single occupant buildings over 20,000 square feet. However, in the future, this will come to encompass a lot more buildings in Portland as data becomes more accessible for those multiple occupant buildings. This tip sheet has a lot of links to other information that could be helpful. So if you want to learn more about benchmarking ordinance, here is a link to the actual ordinance with all the original wording. And this is a link just to bring you back to the Sustainability Office. So if you do end up downloading this tip sheet, you can still find all the links really easily. So this is a great thing just to keep on your desktop maybe while you're going through the benchmarking process. Where do building owners and or residents go to begin reporting data? So we use Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which is what a lot of cities use. This is an EPA platform where you can report all of your water, and energy data. So I'm just going to click on that now and it'll open up here. So this is what Energy Star Portfolio Manager looks like. If you haven't created an account through this platform yet, you can just create an account here. We're going to log in today using our City of Portland account, which is where we report all of our municipal building data. So I'm just going to quickly sign in so that you guys can see the platform. So this is what the interface looks like, the dashboard for Portfolio Manager. As you can see, we have 55 properties. I think we actually have less than that. I keep making test properties for these presentations, but you can see that all of them are named, and this is what your dashboard will look like, just with probably a lot fewer properties. And this My Portfolio dashboard, this is the main tab, and you won't really use these others until later in the presentation. I'm going to go back to the tip sheet now. So what data do building owners and or residents need to collect and share with the city? So we require you share your electricity and or your gas and water usage from January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. That is what we are asking to be reported this year. However, if you have backlog data that you feel like reporting, it actually, before you can get any real metrics out of Energy Star Portfolio Manager, you need at least 2 years worth of data. So you might find it personally very useful to input extra data in, although we will only be requiring the collection of that 1 year of data for 2020 for this 2021 reporting season.
Let me jump in just for a second, Casey.
Yeah.
So in addition to the, on the tip sheet, we might want to edit it too. Because if people use propane or oil, we would want that too. So basically any sort of heating or cooling energy in addition to the those items.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. And the electricity, the gas, any heating, oils, propane, that will all be in the energy meter tab of your Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which we'll go into and we'll create a meter. Some of the other info that you will need when creating a property, when you first create a property, is the year built, the gross floor area, irrigated area, occupancy, and unique building ID. Which we provide on our city website, and this is referred to as standard ID in Portfolio Manager. It's really important that you input this unique building ID when you're first creating the property, because this year when we created our link, it doesn't require you to add the UBID, which is that unique building ID. So it's very helpful for us if you put it in when you're first creating that property, or if you go back and edit your property so that each one has one of these UBID identification numbers. We also include this link here right below, because this does sound like a lot of jargon, this gross floor area, irrigated area. And if you need any definitions for any of those terms, you can just click on the glossary, which they provide through Portfolio Manager. But also when you're in Portfolio Manager, almost all of these terms will be highlighted in blue. So if you just hover your mouse over, which I'll show you, it'll bring up the definition. So the next question that's outlined here is, what are the general steps to benchmarking data? So the first thing, like I said, is to create the Energy Star Portfolio Manager account. The next thing that we're going to do together now is to create a property for each property that the city requires you benchmark using the Add Property tab. So that's right here on the My Portfolio dashboard. We're just going to click it now. So select property type. This is what the dashboard looks like, by the way, for when you have to create a property. So they have all these different property types. You're just going to choose the one that is the main use for your property. We're just going to make ours other today because it's going to be a fake property. How many physical buildings do you consider part of your property? Today, we're just going to consider that one. My property is a single building. And then everyone will most likely be clicking existing for this. What's your construction status? We don't require you benchmark anything that doesn't exist. But today we're just going to make it a test property because we don't actually benchmark this test property that we're making today. and then you hit get started. So then you name your building. We're gonna make this test number 3. You select your country, your street address. You just input all this data. Like I said, you're gonna need year built, and this is where a lot of those jargon terms you can see are highlighted in blue. So when you hover over them, they give you pretty thorough definitions so you can understand what they're really looking for, such as occupancy. That could be one that you maybe don't understand, which occupancy is essentially if there's like a whole floor of an apartment building that is, let's say, under construction or not being leased, you would not count that floor in your energy data. But for the most part, you'll probably be putting 100% here. If it's just a room or two that aren't being leased, it's still 100%. So we're just going to put in some values here. Your gross square area floor area will probably be at least 20,000 because that's what our ordinance requires, and we're going to make this build 1980. And then standard IDs, this is where you would put in that UBID that we were talking about, the unique building identification. And I'm just going to quickly pull back to our energy benchmarking page. So if you're on this page, you see here under related documents, Portland unique property ID codes for energy benchmarking updated. So that link will bring us to all of the UBIDs, which should be for all of the buildings that we currently require. However, if you find that there's not a UBID for your building and your building's not included in this, please just contact us. You can email either me or Troy, and we will get in touch with our GIS team and have a UBID generated for you. This is really important for how we benchmark and identify our buildings. Okay, I'm going to go back to, the portfolio manager. So you would go and you would find Portland, building ID, and then you would type in that ID. And if you have multiple, you can have multiple, but I'm pretty sure each property will just have one building ID. Continue. And I'm going to say, I'm not going to click that. Okay, continue. Okay, so this is the page that comes up next. It gives an overview of that basic information I just put in. Here it has, sorry, I'm just going to minimize this tab. Here it has the gross floor area I put in and other data. Feel free to add as much data as you want. It only helps detail your property more and give you more information as you continue to add metrics. I'm going to add property with that button. And here is test number 3, the building that I just entered. This is what the dashboard looks like for each building. You'll see if I go back to the My Portfolio dashboard, I can scroll down through my buildings and find test number 3, which is right here. Click on it and it'll bring me to this test number 3 building platform where it has all the info I've just put in. This is the summary page for it. You'll see later as we add a building, as we add a meter and add some data, this will be populated here with some trends in the data. And for these tabs, what we'll mostly use is the energy tab here, which has your electricity, gas, propane, kerosene, all of those values, all of those inputs, and then the water tab here, where we would put water meter data. Okay, I'm going to go back to the cheat sheet now. So the next step in benchmarking data would be to create the necessary utility meters by following these steps for all meters. So we're going to go to the blue property name listed in the My Portfolio dashboard. That's what we've already done. We're gonna open an energy tab. So let's make an energy meter by clicking on energy. And then you hit either add a meter here or add a meter here. It does the same thing. We're gonna click add a meter. We're going to make this a, let's see, we're gonna be using some Unitil data that Troy has provided. So we're gonna make this a natural gas meter by clicking this 1 meter, and we're gonna hit get started. Okay, so the date the meter became active, this is going to be the date that you begin benchmarking, essentially. So it's the date of the very first bill for this meter, when the meter was installed, or the date you want to start tracking your bills. So this is the date that you first start benchmarking your data. So we're gonna make this 1/1/2020, which is probably when a lot of you will start benchmarking your bills. And this units is going to be therms, because that's what our, I'm gonna pull this up again just so you can see. That's what our unit is in this Unitil consumption history for our gas account that we're using today. Okay, let's just scroll across, see if we need anything else. No, okay. So we're gonna then hit create meter. And then it brings you to this page. And you can begin creating entries right on this page. We suggest doing all your entries manually, just because even though my portfolio manager does allow you to upload data in bulk, as it says here, using a spreadsheet, it's very hard to maintain the consistency of the spreadsheet after you download it, and you tend to run into a lot of errors. So it's just honestly easier to manually enter, and we will personally be manually entering our municipal data. You can see here that you can add an entry. This is how you start adding data. So the start date, we're gonna look straight at our Unitil. I'm gonna scroll in on it. Let's go back. So we're gonna start for the month of January. So let's say we wanna do this one right here. We're gonna say 1/21/2020. Let's see if I can make this a little smaller. So 1/21/2020 to, this one goes, okay, sorry, I just did something slightly wrong. So this one goes from the red date. So this is very important to point out, which I forgot to. So you have a red date and a bill date. The red date is what we're looking at, and that is going to become essentially the end date of each meter entry that you put in. So this is going to be 1/21/2020, and it goes to it starts at the red date of the other entry, which is 12/19/2019. And here we put in the therms that were used, which was 19.90. And the total cost is not put here, but if you do have a cost, it does help your own process to put it in. I just don't have it on this sheet here. And then if I hit add another entry, you'll see that it starts it on 1/21, which was the red date. It's very important to do one entry at a time, because it'll keep populating this for you and fixing it, which is really great. And then I would just change this one here to 2/20, because that's what my second red date is right here, if you guys can see that. It's really important not to have data gaps, because that'll lead to a lot of error messages down the line. And essentially what I'll do again is just scroll across, and I find that it's 1779 therms for that time period. And I put that in there. Okay, I'm gonna go off that Unitil for a second. So I put in 2 entries now. You're gonna probably end up putting 12 entries. And then I'm just gonna hit continue. Okay, it's giving me an error, and I know why it's giving me an error. It's because I made my meter start on the wrong date because my gas technically started on 12/19 of the previous year. I'm not gonna mess with that right now. It's gonna give me the error no matter what. When you're looking at your Unitil, what you should make sure to do is that whatever your December date preceding your January 2020 first read date, just make that your beginning date of your meter, or just make sure that your meter starts before this date. As you saw, I put in that my meter started on the 1st, but that can all be changed as well. I can try to fix it now. Oh wait, it was in the meter that I did. So if I go back to the energy and I go to this meter, if I go to basic meter information, I just need to make sure that this date meter became active matches this date here. So I'm going to make it 12/19/2019. Okay, and now that's, you see there's no more error there. So I'm going to go back to test number 3. And now I'm going to go back also to the cheat sheet. Okay, so now we've added the meter, we filled out the necessary information to finish creating the meter. And once again, note that both electricity, gas, and any other form of heating oil are classified as energy meters. And we filled in some data for all meters with the data supplied by the utility provider. Another way to keep adding data beyond that first time you open the meter is just by, once again, going back to the energy tab, clicking on the meter you want. This one's just natural gas. And you can just do the same thing. It brings you back to that platform where you can add another entry and just keep adding numbers and data. And once again, save bills. Let's go back to test 3. The next thing that we ask you to do here is to, within the summary tab within each property, use the data quality checker to check for possible errors. This will just help. So if you're running into issues, you can figure these all out before sending it to the city. So this is just right here, data quality checker. It runs a check for any 12-month time period to see if there are any possible errors. So you hit check for possible errors. You want year ending December 31st, 2020, because that's what we are asking for, is January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020. And you hit run checker. So mine's coming up with some issues. So you would just want to fix these because mine is indicating incomplete or missing. This is probably a lot because I don't have any electric data that I've inputted. I only have energy data, which does require electric. And also because I'm missing a lot of data because I only put in 3 months worth of data. So if we go back to test 3, that's just an important check to do. Okay. Use the city provided sharing link to report the benchmarking data for all required properties. So you'll find this just going back to that energy benchmarking page. I'm pretty sure it's right at the very top. So we're right at the top of the City of Portland Sustainability Office's energy benchmarking page. And there's just this link right under the top tab, which is news. And if you click on this link, this is after you've inputted all of your 2020 data and you've checked it, there's no error messages. That's when it's time to click on this link. So we're gonna click on it. And it brings you straight to Energy Star Portfolio Manager to this data request from the city. Troy has inputted all of this information just to remind you where the information is on energy benchmarking and just a few little basic instructions. I'm going to go back to the cheat sheets just so that we're walking along with it. So how do building owners and/or residents share their data from Energy Star Portfolio Manager with the city? That's what we're doing now. So once all of your energy account info has been put into Portfolio Manager, what you want to do is log into Energy Star. We're already logged in, so it didn't ask us to do that. And then we're going to say that we are submitting it on behalf of ourselves. Time frame, this is already put in by Troy. Once again, he's asking for January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020. So this full past year. And then you would select all of the properties that you're required to benchmark. Today, we're just gonna choose our one property, but you would select all of the ones that you are required to at the same time and do it all together. But we're just gonna go do that test number 3. Click on it, and then you hit generate response preview. This is all on that cheat sheet, by the way. It says select all of them according to the city. And then you get to this page. We're gonna scroll a little down. So this top bar here, oops, sorry. This top bar here is what we just generated today, April 1st. And you're gonna do the action, I want to preview response. And that's just gonna pull up this here. And you just want to preview it to make sure there's no errors. I'm just going to go back. So if you're happy with the preview and everything, then you will hit send response. And you'll see that mine has all of this warning symbol. That's because I haven't done things right. Technically, I don't have all of the data in. I don't have any electricity data in this. And I only have 3 months of energy data total. So this here shows the property that I chose. It says all the things that I've done wrong. And then you just scroll down. You want to make sure, once again, that everything's corrected and you fix any errors that pop up before actually sending. But I'm going to say send response here. And that's what you would do after everything's corrected. And you would just put in your username, your password, and send it as an Excel to us. And then you would hit send data. And I'm not going to go any further with that because I don't want to send this. But that's essentially the process you would use to finish that sharing link with the city. Okay. And so now we're back on the cheat sheet here, and this just gives you the link this is the sharing link that we have on the city website. Once again, it's just all in this cheat sheet for you, this tip sheet. And this is, again, in case you had forgotten earlier to input your U bids into each property, here's it to remind you again. So those are the main things that you'll be doing with Energy Star Portfolio Manager. Here we have some important dates. Just remember, it's May 1st is when we want you to report by, and you're reporting once again January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. Here are some general tips and tricks also that could help save you a little bit of time and energy. Once again, make sure there are no data gaps between meter entries. So you need the first and last date between entries to essentially match so that there are no data gaps. So if a red date is December 1st, then the beginning red date of the next one should also be December 1st and then go until January, whatever. If a utility meter is either no longer in use or is suspended in use, users should close out the meter by adding the date that the meter became inactive. So the same point at which we added an active date for a meter, you can also add an inactive date in that same section. And this is just important if you have absolutely no data for that meter anymore. Most of you won't run into this, but if you've used Portfolio Manager before and there's a meter that is no longer active, please just inactivate it because it'll end up just coming up with a lot of error messages for you. While Energy Star Portfolio Manager allows for users to input data using a spreadsheet, like we said before, it is much more straightforward and you'll run into way fewer error messages if you just manually input the data. And then also make sure all properties, once again, have been set up and linked to their UBID so that the properties can be properly benchmarked. If you end up leaving this out, or having too much difficulty with it, we'll figure out a solution, but this just does streamline the process for us and for you guys if you just put in this UBID right when you create the property. And then at the end of this tip sheet is just additional resources, a bunch of guides and videos that are provided by the EPA and Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which go more in depth into how to create each of these meters and some of the issues you might run into, and just really walk you step by step, sort of like we did today, but maybe in a little different way. And it might help just have these resources. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. That's essentially how to benchmark data. I'm happy to discuss any questions you have or show anything again through Portfolio Manager.
Great. One thing I wanted to mention too, and it's a little confusing. Sometimes some customers, some of you will have, like for Unitil, for instance, you'll have a bill from Unitil, which is the supply. The distribution of the gas. So Unitil brings the gas to your building, but you may also have a bill from a supplier. So maybe Sprague Energy or another one. So the supplier bill is the same. It's the same amount of gas as from your Unitil bill. So you don't need to double enter those. So you only need to be concerned about your Unitil bill. And sometimes you might get a separate bill for electricity. So if you just look at your central main power bill, that's the amount of electricity you use. So so just be careful if you have separate supplier bills. You don't need to record those because that would be double entries. Certainly, we're happy to take questions, as Casey mentioned, but if we don't have any questions today or right at this moment, you want to have a chance to investigate the platform a bit, that's certainly great. And I do want to mention that we have some volunteers, some local citizens have volunteered to be benchmarking coaches. So that they've been through the training with Casey and are willing to help coach any business owners or building owners who want to have someone come give them a hand and help figure out some of the problems. So if you want to have a benchmarking coach, you can reach out to us and we'll get in touch with one of our volunteers who can contact you and help you at your convenience. So we're really excited and happy that some of the folks have volunteered to do that. So that's a resource available, and we can certainly reach out to Casey and me, and we'll do our best to answer your questions as well.
I have a quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
I had gone back and done the 2019 bills based on last January's 2020 event at City Hall.
Great.
But I realized watching this video back that I didn't submit them to you.
Ah,
But I did just submit the 2020s because they're all done already.
super.
Is there a way I can go back and get you that information, or is that not necessary for 2019?
Well, it would be great if you could. And I think you can just go back and use submit the same way. You just make the reporting date to be the calendar year 2019.
Okay, I was trying to do that based off.
You can't do that,
Oh,
Troy.
you can't?
You would have to.
Okay.
You would have to reopen, I think, the old link because
Oh, I
yeah,
see.
the date range is set in
Oh,
stone.
okay.
Right.
when,
It was
the
grayed
link-
out, so I couldn't edit that.
Oh,
date
I
range,
see.
so-
Yep,
Yeah.
that makes sense. It would be useful to have, Damon. We can look into it. I can check in
Yeah.
with
Okay.
EPA because it'll help you have the more data the better, and that will help you get a Energy Star score for your building, which is useful to kind of keep track of how you're doing. So yeah,
Yeah.
we can reach out and figure.
Okay, since I put all the time and effort in last year to get it
Yeah,
all,
no.
stay on top
Yeah.
of it.
Totally.
Maybe we'll create another link
That's true.
for backlog data for the year before. We'll figure something out and reach out to you.
That would be really helpful because I did the same thing for our building and
Okay.
I never actually submitted it. So I have all the 2019 data in.
Great, yeah.
Just haven't actually hit send. So
Great.
Make a note of that.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, so since I was following along with the how to submit, since I hadn't done that before, and I hit submit, and then you started with the discussion about if you have a supplier, Unitil and Sprague, and I realized that one of my buildings has that, and I have both numbers in there, and I double reported them to you.
Okay. I think you can edit it.
And then just resubmit.
Resubmit. Yeah.
Okay. And so can we re-clarify, because I have one building that has Unitil as the supplier and Sprague as the delivery source, so you would want Unitil in that?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's going to be the same amount, and
Yes, I noticed that. I've just
Yep.
got the numbers in there twice, one for
Yep.
each
so
supplier.
yep.
Okay,
yeah, Unitil is the delivery company and Sprague is the energy supplier, but Unitil is supplying the amount of energy that Sprague you're purchasing from Sprague, so that's the
Okay.
same.
all right, I'll make those edits. Thank you very much.
Yes. Cool. So just to make sure we have your emails, Damon and Dennis, just if you shoot us an email so we'll know to investigate that and give you the information we have that new link set up.
Absolutely. I'll email you after this meeting.
Perfect.
I will as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, well, fantastic. So again, there's no other questions right at the moment. We're happy to take more questions as they come up, and let us know if you want to coach, and we'll try to put you in touch with one of our volunteers. And we are going to post this on our on the benchmarking page. So if you want to watch parts of it again, it will be there for you to watch in another day or two.
Yeah. And once again, that tip sheet is just at the bottom of the benchmarking page, and it has all of the links that we used today, right in that one sheet that you can just download on your computer.
Right, and there's also some tip sheets on like how to access data from the different utility web
Yep.
pages, how to look at your account at the utility and use their web pages, which you may or may not have experienced that already, but there's a resource for you. So. And then we'll certainly thank you for coming today, and thank you for your interest in the ordinance, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
One more quick question before you
Oh,
guys
sure.
go.
Yeah.
Well, I just was on your energy benchmarking page on the portlandmaine.gov. At the
Yep.
very bottom, it still shows Ashley's name and email address.
I saw that today. Yeah, we'll fix that.
We'll fix that today. Thanks for the reminder.
You're welcome. Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Very good. Bye-bye.
Bye.